Do you struggle to manifest money? Well, guess what? So do I. Yeah, someone on the internet is saying that they're a messy human just like you, and sometimes they struggle with the same things you do. You don't hear too many manifesting teachers talk about, yeah, I'm not manifesting. This is why I wanted to do this video, because sometimes being human, we too get stuck and have to learn our own lessons and overcome our own hurdles so that our souls can grow. That's why we came to Earth School. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about the history first of how I got here and why is a manifestation teacher stuck, what lessons I've already overcome, and where I'm going. Now, the reading I got from Sarah Jordan is 8 pages long. It's too much to do in one sitting. Plus, it's too much information to digest. So I'm going to take a page out of one of my favorite teachers' books, not literally, but figuratively. We'll talk about Robert in a minute. And we're going to break this up into 4 sessions, 4 parts, so that each week we do 2 pages and we can dive deep into each paragraph of what she's teaching me and asking me to do the deep dive in, and why I believe my process can help you overcome your hurdles. So let's go back. Now, there's 3 books that changed my life. The first one, obviously, is the Name It and Claim It game, because in 2008, Helene Hadsel asked me to maintain her legacy. The next one came in 2011 when I discovered Robert Ohotto. As I was going through this really dark period of my life, everything went wrong. Now, I love astrology, and if you like astrology like I do, you will know in 2008 that Pluto went into Capricorn. 3 of my personal planets, my sun, my moon, and my Mercury, are all in Capricorn in the 7th and 8th house. And everything just, I got a divorce. We went bankrupt. I moved. I had some health issues, thankfully, nothing serious, just, perimenopause and things like that. Just everything up and down like a yo-yo. And I found in that whole process, I found Robert Ohotto, and he wrote this book, Transforming Fate into Destiny. I highly recommend it because it completely changed my life at the time. And one of the things I did, he was giving readings at the time. He's an intuitive astrologer. And what he does is he takes your birth chart and he would give you a reading onto what you can expect, like a life overview. And he's not like other astrologers that say, oh, well, when the moon is coming here, he's more archetypal. He's worked, if you notice, the forward was by Carolyn Mace. He goes into a lot of archetypal things. For example, he said, it's no accident that I originally called myself the contest queen, because I've got the queen archetype in spades. So during that reading, one of the things he said to me is my Saturn is conjunct Chiron in the 10th house. And he said to me, you need to bring the wounded healer into your business. And I had no idea what that meant. Now, here's what else he told me. And 3 out of the 4 things he told me have come true. The first one was that my soul contract with my husband was in fact over. And Robert likes to say, it's not till death do us part, it's until soul contract is complete, do we part. He's not wrong. That the contest queen, because that's the only business I had at the time, the contest queen wasn't the mountain. She was just one step on the mountain. So after I had that reading with him in 2013, I went and opened Idea Majesty, and then I sat on it. And ironically enough, he ended up being my first client in my marketing business. So if you contact his business to this day, I am his marketing arm, and I'm part of his team. And when I was buying the business license for Idea Majesty, it's all online now, but at the time I was standing in the registrar office, and I intuitively knew there was one more business. Right? It's not how you're supposed to view your life, but I went, more work. Capricorn, this little Capricorn, she loves to work. So I'm in the registrar's office. I knew there was one more business. And then I sat on Idea Majesty. I went and I booked everything. I had the URL. I had the emails. I had business cards and everything. I never built the website. It took me 6 years to build the website. And at that point, I started doing Helene's books. Now, the first one, the Name It and Claim It game, obviously fits in with the Contest Queen business. So I could put her there. Her other 3 books were metaphysical. They did not belong in Contest Queen. So I threw them on Idea Majesty just so they'd have somewhere to live. They didn't belong there either. I knew I was going to have to build an author website. I didn't want to. You can see where this is headed. The universe is pushing me in certain directions, and I don't want to go. But one of the other things that Robert had told me is that he sees me working with a lot of metaphysical teachers. There's a website called I believe it's called the Shift Network, and they host lots of webinars and they bring in all these great teachers. And he said, this isn't how it's going to look, but it's the only way I can describe it. And he talked about how I was going to be working with all these great metaphysical teachers. And he said, and you don't lose being the contest queen when you're doing that, because then you can say something like, and I'm also the contest queen, and we've got prizes from all these wonderful teachers. So I'm like, okay, I had no idea what he meant. Fast forward, 2020, I started publishing Helene's books because my life did this. And I finally picked up the gauntlet and started running. Thankfully, I did what she asked me to do. And now I've got her books on, they're all published. Now, what's interesting is the last 2 books that she published were only available through her. She never had them formally printed by a book printer and had an ISBN and were available through stores. Only if you wrote her a letter and sent her a check would she mail you a copy of Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage or A Man Called Friday. Those were the only places they were available. Now, all 4 books are available in print and ebook. 3 out of the 4 are on Audible. I'm starting recording the 4th one next week. So that's coming soon. And actually, audiobooks were something that she wanted to do but never did. So the fact that they're now out there. And the final thing she wanted to do was to translate her books into languages, which she also never did. And I'm doing that. So 2 out of the 4 are already in Spanish. And the Name It and Claim It game is in the editing phase of German, Italian, and French. So more languages are coming for her most popular book. So I'm carrying her gauntlet. But again, that doesn't really bring all the stuff that I'm doing hasn't brought in the Wounded Healer. Then one day from Amazon, so I'm thinking about this, because Robert told me in 2013, at the end of 2013, you need to take this path. I'm like, all right. So it's always the back of my mind, like a pot at the back of the stove. It's there. It's there. We'll see when it starts to bubble up. In the end of 2022, I get an email from Amazon. It says the copyright in this book is wrong. And if you don't fix the copyright page, we're pulling the book. I was thinking, uh-oh. So I messaged them. I said, I hold the copyright. They go, we know, but it's not right. Here, go refer to this page. They don't tell you anything. You have to figure it out. So in my panic, I turned around and I wrote her previous publishers. The first one was easy. Divorce and Company, still a large publishing company. It's in business. You can easily look them up. I got a letter from them right away. The second one was harder to find. Top of the Mountain Publishing published her second edition. They seem to be out of business. And I started poking around the internet and I discovered that Tag Powell owned Top of the Mountain Publishing. And I thought, where have I heard that name? Earlier in 2022, I had gone to her house to pick up the remains of her business files and poke around her library to see which books would help me maintain her legacy, because she refers to a lot of different books in her writings. And so she had copies of them so that I can share that information with you and make sure her legacy is maintained to the best of my ability. And I thought, I recognize that name. So I went digging in the box because this office is small. I don't have a library. One day, I found his book. He wrote The Silva Method of Mind Mastery by Tag Powell, Top of the Mountain Publishing. I went, okay, now I'm connecting the two. So and this is how she met him, because he was a Silva instructor. And if you remember, Helene Hadsel was a Silva, Jose Silva's assistant. She did like all his kind of marketing and prep and all that kind of stuff. So that's how she met Tag. Anyway, so I found 4 random addresses for Tag. So I mailed out letters. I just mailed out letters, threw them out to the wind and thought maybe one of them will land on his doorstep. Weeks later, I get a call from Tag. He was still alive because, Helene had been gone since 2010 at this point. I didn't know. He'd had a stroke. He had COPD, and he was so happy to hear from me. So I immediately sent him a copy of all of her books, and he was flabbergasted, because publishing back in the 70s and 80s and 90s when he was doing it was a totally different process now. He was amazed at what I had done with her books. And I had gotten a lot more confident, and I said to him, who's maintaining your legacy? And he said, nobody. So we came to an agreement, and I went through his library, and he published a lot of ebooks. I think there's like almost 80 if you go onto Amazon. But I bought the rights to 10 of his books. I wanted to do more, but what happened was some of them were co-authored. And so I actually hired a detective that I knew, Shannon Tullis, because she is famous for vetting sweepstakes winners. So, for example, if you enter the HGTV contest, in the rules, it says that you will be vetted before being a potential winner. So they'll draw like 10 names, 5 names, like one potential winner and a few backups, and have them all investigated by a detective to see if you will represent the brand, because they don't want an axe murderer winning the house, right? Because anybody can legally enter. But this is their brand. They don't want that attached to their brand, because companies spend millions of dollars protecting their brands. So I hired her to see if she could find some of these co-authors and illustrators. Well, we couldn't find them. And so I decided to not buy one book. And I bought 2 books, knowing that I'd have to hire artists to produce their own art to replace the ones that are there. So their own interpretation of that passage of the book. So I thought, okay, if I know I'm doing that, then I'm willing to do that. So George and I drove down to Florida. George is my boyfriend. We drove down to Florida to meet Tag and to buy the rights to all of his books. And while I was there, he showed me his library and he said, pick anything you want. Well, I took another copy of Helene's book. I wish I kind of grabbed a few more, but because I had broken the spine on mine, getting all the images to publish this, and I wanted one that wasn't all broken. And then I found some audio series. So we added those to the contract. So not only did I get 10 books, I got 5 audio series. And that was quite exciting. So once that deal was done, I knew I finally had to break down and do what I did want to do. And I built Words for Winning. I wanted to do something majestic because I like the idea of the queen archetype. So I have Contest Queen, and then I did Idea Majesty for the marketing business. And I wanted to do something similar for the publishing company that I was now creating, but I couldn't find anything that wasn't taken. So I thought I would stick to the winning part of it, where you can win in life and sweepstakes. And of course, they're books. So I called it Words for Winning. Then that wasn't taken. So I got the URL, I got the business license, I did everything. I had the website built. It's still under, because it's not 100%. I mean, there's still things we need to update on it. It's always a work in progress. However, once I had the website up and my webmaster put all the images of myself, Helene, Tag, and Judith, because I bought some of his wife's books too, on the website, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what Robert was talking about 10 years prior. This is it. I'm doing what he said, but with books. I was like, holy moly. So now there's only one thing left that I haven't done that he said was part of my soul contract, what I agreed to before I got here. Sometimes I think we need to reread these contracts before we sign. There was always I remember Wayne Dyer's daughter always had a running joke with her dad saying, I must have been in a real hurry to pick you as parents before I came down, not looking. Anyway, so I did. I knew I had one more piece. And of course, sometimes you don't know when that's going to show up or how that's going to show up. As I was doing a Silva book, it only made sense that I needed to learn the Silva method inside out and backwards. Now I had read the Silva method, but I hadn't taken it. And actually, it turns out I do learn better in person anyway. Some people can read a book and master all the secrets. Some people are auditory. That's why Audible is very popular. A lot of people learn audibly. And some people are kinesthetic. They need to participate. That's why I like taking in-person classes, because I'm writing notes. I'm seeing the slides, the presenters talking. I'm immersed in the thing. There's no distractions. It's not like a Zoom class where you can check your email and eat and, do other things while the presenter's on. When you're, not at home in like a meeting room somewhere, it's much better. I personally like to learn that way. Last year, through this process, I decided I might as well become a Silva instructor because I'm doing all of this stuff. And Tag was a Silva instructor, so I might as well really master it. Why not? Part of becoming a Silva instructor is you need to take it 5 times along with the Silva instructor course. And so I finished the Silva instructor course, but I realized because I'd been assisting in Toronto so many times, I'd actually only taken it once to count. Spring was extremely busy with our family, so I booked 2 Silva classes back to back in August of 2024. The first one was in Connecticut with Ken Casilla. I highly recommend taking it from him if you get a chance, because he was the youngest Silva instructor ever certified by Jose, and he was certified by Jose himself. He got his certification in 1971. He's still teaching. The stories that he told during his teachings just blew everybody that attended away. I'm going back, actually. And it was phenomenal. I'm looking forward to learning from Ken again. And I'm working to get his instructor, like his free introductory class links on my website. Otherwise, I'm going to put all the links in the description. You can go to silvamethodct.com and he's there. I was back a week, and then I had some friends in Connecticut, so I went and rested there a few days. And then after that, I came home. I had a few days at home, and then I went back to the Silva Method, but this time it was in Toronto with Stephen Dobosh. Now, his free introductory classes are on my website. So you can go check those out. They're like every other Monday. They're 90 minutes. It's a great free introduction to the Silva Method. If you're interested, go take one, see what it's all about. Anyway, it was really good to take it back to back and also see the teachers' different teaching styles. I mean, they're all teaching the same materials because you have the same instructor manual, but the way you present, you know, everybody has their own personality, their own presentation style, their own success stories that they've had with the Silva Method that they share. So it was really cool to hear the differences between the two of them. And sometimes you pick something up when you've heard it again. And it was during that last Silva class when we were doing, there's a purpose meditation. And I got an image, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Oh, I should have talked about the money board. I didn't do this slide. I'm going to show you slide 2 first. So this was the image that I got. And as I help others, like what I'm doing tonight, I'm going to help myself. And as I help myself, I'm helping others. And I thought, oh, this is like a paradox. This is the wounded healer connecting in my business. So I'm like, okay, so how do I do that? How do I do this in Words for Winning? How do I connect with people on a more raw level? And then it hit me that what I've been doing recently is I've been at a plateau with my business. I haven't been able to grow to the next level. And I've been very frustrated that I've kind of been stuck. And technically, I'm actually going backwards because I've stayed level, but I've added more products. So technically, I should be going up, but I'm not. I'm stagnant. So I thought, what am I doing? Now, Helene Hadsel had she lived, last June 1st, would have been 100. Oh my God, that would have been amazing had she lived, right? So I started having various teachers on to talk about her. First, we had Sarah Jordan. Now, she contacted me one day a long time ago about Helene and said she had been meditating and Helene came to her and she's a medium, she's a psychic medium. She's also a very cool author. And I've linked to her. And she came on and we talked about Helene's numerology. So she's been on twice. So I had her once on this platform talking about blueprints because everybody wants to still get a blueprint Helene Hadsel style. So this is more modern method of the blueprint reading. And so this is similar to that. And we're going to go over that in a minute. And so then I had her back on and we talked about Helene's numerology for like how her life path was woven through her name and her numerology and, you know, celebrating her 100th. Then I had why is his name escaping me? I had someone on talking about numerology, her human design, and I can picture him, and his name is not coming. And I know Stephen would be very disappointed in me because we worked on the memory pegs from the Silva method. You know, T, Noah, May, Ray, etc. Marco, I knew it would come. Anyway, you can go and watch those interviews. And for her birth chart, I will be having Robert Ohotto. He's going to be this fall at some point. We're going to have him on, and we're going to go over Helene Hazel's birth chart because he's the astrologer. So I'm very excited about that. To thank me for having her on, Sarah said, send me a question. Now, her reading style's interesting. You just send her a question for your reading, and she does her process, you know, and she sends you a written report, a written reading. So this one's 8 pages. So we're going to do 2 pages tonight and then 2 next week and the other weeks. So let's begin with what she said. So I wrote her about all my frustrations, and she said, I understand you might be having a knot in your stomach because you're not getting to this next level and it's not comfortable. She said, I get it. So that's what she wrote out as my question / situation. And you can hire her, by the way, to do these readings. It's on her Linktree. So what's interesting is George's mother was Carolyn. So he doesn't call me Carolyn. He calls me Carol, which is interesting because it's a change in my name. And my nickname, Carol, is a 7 vibration, same as Helene. So she went from Helen to Helene. She went from a 2 to a 7. And my nickname is also a 7. Interesting. So she says, before I start, I'm going to read this because I think it's cool. Because I do have some stories of Helene's that haven't been published before, and I was wondering how I was going to do it. And now I'm going to be adding to it. She says, I've had visions of you many times leading big paranormal retreats at Helene's house. I don't know how we're going to do that. We're going to talk more about that in the future. With seances, mediums, TV crews. Don't be afraid to be controversial or of criticism. Yeah, I've learned how to have a very tough skin. Very early on in my publishing journey, I highly recommend reading the 4 agreements, especially paying attention to agreement 2. Nothing is personal. A book called Messages from Helene could be on the horizon for you, but you got to get past your fears first. So this is why I'm stuck at a plateau, right? It's like you're climbing a mountain, right? And remember, I'm a Capricorn with 3 planets in Capricorn. And what is Capricorn? The mountain goat. What do? We climb mountains. Right? So I got to climb past these fears. That's how I see it. So guess what? The biggest thing standing in the way of your wealth is your fear. It's like an energetic block that can be fixed rather quickly. So there is good news. Time, astrology, and circumstances don't determine your level of money. You do. And I'll show you how. Now, when I had a blueprint, when I had her on the show for Blueprint, she did a reading just based on the books. I didn't actually send her a specific question, but she just did one out of her own intuition. And she pulled the Devil card because she also uses tarot as one of her intuitive tools. And so she said, to refresh your memory, I had written that your best money-making ideas will often occur when you're not feeling bound by your daily routine or your usual everyday responsibilities. Basically, when you are feeling relaxed and off duty, thinking outside the box is when your best ideas will come. Well, when did the idea for this come? When I wasn't at home, when I was taking a class that I was excited to take, and I was meditating, the idea for this popped in. Exactly what she said. Right? A lot of and I'm not the only one that says this, when you let go, right? You let God is one of the expressions, or where attention goes, energy flows. Same thing. There's lots of teachers that have these little idioms. Helene would have loved them all. So she said the devil card reappeared again, but I feel the meaning is different. Today, the message is you have been tricked into thinking you have no control or that you can never break free from this cycle, this cycle. Okay. So I got out my tarot cards. I have several decks, so I thought we'd share them, and I thought it'd be fun to go over them. So I have my Weight Rider ones here, and I've already pulled out the devil card. Now I keep this one with some crystals wrapped up in a cloth because you're supposed to protect them. So we have the devil card here. This is from just the standard Weight Rider deck. And in this one, it says that, okay, so this is from the Major Arcana. It says ravage, violence, force, vehemence, extraordinary efforts, fatality, that which is predestined, but not for this reason, evil. Reversed is evil, fatality, weakness, pettiness, and blindness. But I think the fatality part is the death of fear. Right? Why am I sticking to the devil that I know? It's a play on words, kind of like Helene would love that. Helene loved that stuff. Now, I also have these two decks. I highly recommend. One's by Raleigh Valentine and one's by Colette Baron Reid. His are angels and hers are. She changed them to the seasons. Was it the seasons? I think. Let me just check. I think hers is, oh no, hers is the elements, air, fire, water, and earth, right? So she changed them. And so her devil card is actually temptation, which I brought here at the top. Beautiful. The artwork on her cards is ridiculous. I highly recommend her decks. Her most popular one is Wisdom of the Oracle. But 15 says, temptation is attachment. What am I attached to? The material world is my playground, but I need to be careful not to be attached to outcomes. Again, the death of fear, right? Just letting go. This is a warning to me to watch for excess and to know what's not healthy for me. When this card shows up, it's a sign that I'm focused on the material realm. I need to be aware of any excess or addictive behavior, my own or that of others. So that's what that card means in her deck. And then I will read you what further. Now this is Raleigh Valentine's deck. His is ego, which is interesting. I mean, the artwork in this too. I love it. I love all these decks. These ones I all got from Hay House, and I sign up for their subscriptions, emails, and then whenever they have a sale, I make purchases. So I have about, 10 card decks. I would have more, but I don't have any room. Maybe that's a good thing. So here's what he says about ego. Oh, and he also has angels. Like if you see how he's done his cards, okay, there's MI for Michael, and then he's got the card number. And on the card, it says, the illusion of being trapped, accept responsibility for your situation, and then make choices to support the path to happiness, addiction, or unhealthy habits. Okay. Archangel Michael comes to your rescue. With the sword of light, he frees you from limiting beliefs and destructive behaviors. Often the perception of entrapment is an illusion. A person becomes so used to their situation that they can't see the possibilities for change or for getting free of unhappy circumstances. Your ego would have you stay where you are within the thoughts of you're not good enough to make your dreams come true and it's safer to stay here. It could be worse out there. Again, the devil you know. If you are unhappy, then it's guaranteed the universe wants to make changes and will do whatever it can to help. But the choice is to make the changes, to take the first baby steps, and it's entirely up to you. Again, one of the reasons I'm doing this, I'm taking a step forward to connecting my wounded healer in my birth chart to my business, right? Chiron conjunct Saturn in the 10th house of Pisces, no less. So if you know anything about astrology, you will know that Saturn is currently in Pisces, and I'm heading rapidly to my second Saturn return because I will be 58 in January. This card can also reflect someone who's overly focused on the acquisition of wealth or material things, stuck at that level, probably as a way to fulfill spiritual or emotional void within. So I've been sitting with that a lot. Like, why am I wanting to grow my business? Like, to me, obviously, if I can do things like revamp a website to make it easier for people to navigate, complete a website, hire an assistant to help get more notifications out to people, things like that, I can help more people. And so I see it that way. But is there a subconscious pattern I'm unaware of? I've been sitting with that. Addictions or overexposure to unhealthy food, substances, or people can be present. Additional meanings of this card: refusal to accept responsibility for a situation. No, I totally accept it. Getting clear on what this is the cause and what's the symptom. See, I'm still a little fuzzy on some of that. So that's why we're meditating every day. Getting caught up in fear and worry, excessive debt. Getting caught up in fear and worry. Again, that's what Sarah was saying. So here's what else she said. The people on the Devil card can break free at any time, but they're getting something out of feeling stuck. What would the payoff be for you? Again, that's why we're sitting with it. The most life path 6 people, because I'm a 6, want to be needed and want to feel relatable. Well, yeah. What is the potential negative consequence of you getting everything you ever wanted? Ooh, what a question to sit with. If you have any beliefs about greedy, rich being not nice people, she used a stronger word there. Now it is the time to clear it. Now, I've thought about this because sometimes what happens is when you watch television, it's a reflection or it's some messages that they want to feed you, right? And everybody on television that's super wealthy isn't nice. And the reason is nobody would watch a show with Mr. Nice Guy doing nothing. Right? It's like when I filmed that show, High Stakes Sweepers, and they had to recreate all the contests because they didn't understand you can't control luck. Even the producer had said to me at one point, so what grand prizes do you plan to win in the next 2 weeks? And I'm thinking, all of them? It's not going to happen, but like, you can't control what shows up. So everything that everybody had won on the show actually happened, but we had to recreate it because you can't control it. I even have whole blogs about, I actually won a prize when the cameras weren't rolling. And they're like, how did they miss it? The Devil card represents your fear, which is the energy leading the show. So on a very practical level, you need to prioritize getting out of fear. Exercise, journal, EFT, etc. We're going to be talking about EFT in a minute. I have been exercising. So what happened was because I went to the annual National Sweepstakes Convention, immediately followed by Silver Training in Connecticut, immediately followed by Silver Training in Toronto. I just froze my membership for a month because I wasn't going to be here. I've been exercising for I don't even know what day it is. It's Thursday. Yeah. So I've only been exercising for a week, and boy, do I feel it, because I did body pump yesterday. I woke up this morning extremely sore. I did not go walking. And because I had to go out, I did not even go to the gym. Tomorrow, we're back at it. I'm already booked. So I got the exercise back down pat. I have not been journaling yet. I need to get back to that. I was doing a lot of writing when I was in the trainings. The EFT, I've been doing on and off. That needs to become a habit, which we're going to talk about in a minute. This is the number one priority that will help you get the big bucks. Yes, because, when I help myself, I help others. And helping others, yes. Yvonne says your pin code hunting counts. Yes, because pin code hunting, you have to go look at my Contest Queen channel for that. There's a lot of overlap because winning in sweepstakes and winning in life, right? Same energy, all fun. Yeah, so some days, all the days I've been code hunting first thing in the morning, and then I go to the gym after. So I've been walking and taking a class. So I did walking and then aquafit and walking and body pump. And this morning I couldn't even get out of bed. My shoulders are so sore from the weights because I haven't done them in like a month. Because when you're in fear, fight or flight mode, you cannot grow your business at the same time. Exactly what I've been wanting to do, right? I've been stagnant. In fact, science shown that when people are in fight or flight, their immune system lowers because they're in survival mode. Thankfully, I have not been ill. Take 10 to 20 minutes every day, and I looked these up, and I've done them sporadically. I need to do better. Every day before you do any work or try to grow your business, and follow along to one of these videos. And she gave me Clearing Fear and Worry by Brad Yates and Money Magnet Quickie by Brad Yates. She said you can even do EFT in the shower. EFT gets the fear out of your nervous system so you have the capacity to receive more. So again, I need to be doing that every day along with the meditation every day. I've only missed 2 days of meditation since I started doing the 90-day challenge from Ken. All of your thoughts and emotions also have their own frequency and vibrations. Fear and anxiety is also a vibration and frequency. This fear and anxiety will create static or blocks for you and can block you from receiving information, ideas, money, and more. It makes sense. It makes absolute sense. Now, let's go back to the money slide. This is an exercise that worked very well for a while for me. And then again, I got stagnant. These are the money, the manifesting money exercise from Helene Hatzel. I've had a few videos, and then this year I was so crazy busy. I haven't done one for a year. I need to do a new one. It'll be fun. These are ones I created. And inside, in the center, you put my money supply is limitless. My good is at hand, and I'm gratefully receiving it now. Money is drawn to me constantly. And you take fake bills, like they're all play money that I ordered online. It says movie money. And I write my name on it. And I stick it on the board. And the board, it's like a vision board, basically. I use a big Bristol board. And it worked really well. But it hasn't lately. I've gotten stagnant. So obviously, since then, there's been a block. It's almost like a beaver built a dam right on the energy flow, right? And that won't let new stuff come in. So the circumstances, she reminds me, the circumstances in life right now are only temporary. They're always only temporary. My dad always used to say to me, this too shall pass. I think he got that from his mother. And they are happening for one reason, to invite you to hold the vision of where you choose to go. And again, that's helping others. Helene always said before everything she did with people, I should say it before I do every video. Let me be a channel to help people help themselves. Let me be a channel to help people help themselves, which is exactly what I'm doing here. And as a life path 6, your third eye is key, which is right here, which is where, if you've taken the Silva method, you need to project when you're doing your holo viewing or your mind, mirror of the mind, you're looking here. Third eye. You must make what you see in your imagination, piles of money, book deals, TV crews at your home, etc., bigger and more important than the circumstances you're currently seeing, right? Because I see the 3D and I get frustrated. It's a circle, right? The fastest way to change it. I can feel you. This is so funny. I can feel you rolling your eyes because you're such a practical Capricorn, but this is the real work. I didn't really roll my eyes at her because I do know. What I did roll my eyes at is, oh, I got to meditate every day. Oh, I've got to do EFT every day. This little Capricorn prefers to like type out books and do videos and make things that feel tangent versus the inner work, which isn't as fun, right? It's like the exercise and not eating sugar. That's not as much fun as the ice cream. It will take discipline to ignore what you see in front of you, but quantum physics shows we only see a tiny sliver of reality. And it's funny because I saw sliver and then I saw silver You can see silver or Silva, which is kind of fun, another play on words. There's much more that you're not seeing. That I know. Quantum physics proves there's no solid reality out there. And in fact, reality changes and rearranges itself based on what is being observed. Okay. And so the last paragraph for tonight is your world and everyone in it, your family, your friends, your health, your money, your clients, etc., is going to completely rearrange itself to support who you claim yourself to be. So use your words, imagination, and thought to command wealth now. I am already it. Now, what's interesting is I usually do vision boards and I put all the stuff that I want on them. But Robert Ohotto did a course inside. He had a membership for a while, and he did a course in the membership called Vertical Intuition. And most of us live horizontally, but he's teaching us to go vertically. Again, what this is, right? Everything. My favorite quote from Robert Edward Grant is, we live in a U inverse. Everything outside is a reflection of inside. Everything. And he says, when you start to see the synchronicities, it is crazy. It is crazy. I highly recommend go watching his stuff too. So let me just show you this. I'm going to add this to the stage. Now, this was the vision board I created this year. So I did it as above, so below. So I drew a line here, very faint, so I could see what half of the board was. And this one I did in gold, and this one I did in silver. So every January, Colette Baron-Reid does a vision board class. And so one of the things she says is anchor it. So I found that spray painting them outside the Bristol board gave it a really kind of fun effect. And I liked it. So, and this one, while it was still wet, I had some gold sprinkles and I shook it all over. And she does the course in January. So I did these boards in October before the weather got bad because I knew I wouldn't have time. Like I couldn't go out there in January. So above is the material world and the below is the inner world. So Bashar talks about the different forms of abundance, right? Imagination, trading, actual money, gifts, synchronicities. And so I wanted 3 and 3, so I put the word abundance there. A joyful life, feeling good, lucky, right? And magic and miracles. Now there's the Silva method. You'll notice all these little dots. I found some tiny, tiny crystals that I put. And then these are 3 big podcasters. Like there's Robert Edward Grant, Michael Sandler, and Alex Ferrari. And I want to get to my business to feel like I'm at their level. Technically, we're all the same, but you know, we make people hierarchical in our own minds. So I want to internally feel as successful as they are. And then externally, I'd like more money. I'd love to own another house. I would like a library. I keep putting my front load washer dryer. They haven't showed up yet. I went on a cruise last year. Would love another cruise. Haven't been on a beach trip this year. We did go last year. And then I did go to Vegas this year, and I'm going again in January with George. And then he wants to see the Grand Canyon. So I put the Grand Canyon there. And more books. I think I counted these. There's 12 books. And right now I'm at 10 with 3 Audible. And I'm going to work 4 Audible starting in September. It may or may not be out by the end of the year. I don't know. It depends on how the recording goes. And then I think, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Helene's life story would make an excellent movie. So I put a movie there. And Sarah even said that. Imagine Sansa's Mediums TV cruise, right? And the Name It and Claim It game. So as above, so below. Now this in the center is Robert Ohotto's logo for Ananke Apollo Institute, which he owns. And if you look at it, there's the vertical and horizontal. Ooh, I've been talking for an hour. And if you look, the circle, the lines crisscrossing are actually arrows in. So it's around and in and out. Like there's so many meanings in his logo. So I used his logo as the center point for this whole board. And then some more crystals all around. So it's going to be it. So this is what I've been working on. Again, that ties into exactly teaching this, right? As above, so below, and reversed. So what I'm going through on the inside is reflected on the outside. So I'm stuck on the inside, so it's reflected on the outside. And it made sense. So that's when that circle, this other slide came to me. Help others and help yourself and help yourself and help others. It's like a circle, right? So as I'm going through this reading and mastering it myself, you're learning to also overcome your own hurdles. Because I do get very frustrated with some of these manifestation teachers, just raise your vibration and you're going to manifest everything you want. That's not true. If it's not in your soul contract, it's not going to happen. And what archetypes are running the game? I wrote this down, actually. Robert Ohotto said it. I got to read this to you. So I was talking to him about this before I came on. And he said, so what's in the shadow? What shadow archetype is running the show? Right? Patterns hold the key. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel. Go watch his videos. He's amazing. He does a lot of astrology, but he's done a lot of courses too. And you get there's a really good free video if you sign up for his newsletter. So the patterns hold the key. And what archetypes are running the show, like in the magnetics. So if you've got the codependent or the addict running the show, and you're trying to I'm just going to vibrate high and manifest what I want, that's not going to work. You have to go, like Sarah's saying, you got to go inward and heal that part of you first, and then stuff starts to show up. Like Robert also did tell me, he said, there is love out there for you. I clearly see that on your path. So the first thing was, my marriage was definitely over. And he said, you're going to go through this process and you're going to change, your guides are going to help you rewire your internal system wire by wire by wire. It took a long time. It took years, in fact. And I stayed single for a long time. I thought, I'm not going to date anybody while I'm a hot mess, because I wouldn't want to date me while I'm a hot mess and while I'm sorting through this. And then I met George in 2017 and we've been together ever since. And he's perfect for me. I asked the universe this time because my husband and I, we had very different ideals about life. And there's nothing wrong with having different ideals. It just doesn't make for a great marriage. His set of values and my set of values didn't match. That's all. They always say there's a lid for every pot. Well, we weren't a set. George and I are set. We have the same ideals. So a lot of times we do something and he would say, oh, how do you want me to do that? Or he'd say, I do this. And I go, oh, me too. Or I'd say something and he goes, oh, I do that too. Me too. It got to the point where it was a little bit ridiculous. So that also came true. So to me, this is the last piece of the puzzle. The last piece of that puzzle that I was given over a decade ago. And I'm finally putting that last piece of the puzzle in. Now, I by no means think this is the end of me putting my, bringing the wounded healer, my wounded healer into my business and being more vulnerable and going over something. Hey, I'm scared I'm not growing. Right. And it's it's a little scary to say, hey, I'm stuck, and who wants to come with me, and we'll fix this. We'll heal this, or we'll integrate it. Actually, there's nothing. I can hear Robert in my head right now. He's like, there's no fixing, there's no healing, you just integrate it. Hug your dragons. You got to go read his book. Go hug your dragons. He should write a book called Go Hug Your Dragons. It's true. And so that's what we're doing. We're hugging the dragons, because the patterns that got us to this point, the patterns that we set up in childhood, that saved us in childhood, that aren't, that rear their ugly heads as adults. Harville Hendrix wrote a whole book on getting the love you want, and how we marry someone with similar archetypes to our parents so we can heal that inside us. It's absolutely fascinating how that works, right? And I love all those teachers. I mean, my dad gave me an inspirational book at 18 and said, if I can teach you at 18 what I learned at 36, you'll be way ahead. I've been reading these types of books and, playing with cards and doing all this kind of stuff for literally almost 40 years, because I'm turning 58. So it'll be 40 years next year that I've been playing with all this stuff. So I've done a lot of growth. But again, in Helene's book, she has her take on the Sumerian rules to life. And one of them is, as long as you're alive, you're learning. There's a reason it's called Earth School. Right? And sometimes, how many times have you had something where you go, oh my gosh, why does this keep happening? Because you haven't learned the lesson, and it's going to keep coming around until you figure it out. And then when you figure it out, you're like, oh. Or the minute you go, okay, I'm done, I'm letting this go, poof. How many times has that happened? Because you finally let go of control, let the ego dropped it. There's so many great teachers on there. Yvonne says, some manifesting YouTube videos just go on and on with no useful tips. I like the Silva videos, but you have to sift through a lot to find them. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I actually highly recommend the course, because first off, there's some techniques that you learn in the course that aren't even in the Silva method book, which is really good. And I've actually sat through the course 3 times as a student, and I've taken it. I think, as another 4 times. So I've technically done it. I've taken it 7 times, but only 3 counted towards my getting my certification. And actually, Ken said, don't come for the 4th one here. He wants me to come and take the Silva Mastery course, which is like level 2 in December. So I'm going to be taking that, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, Avanza, I think I'll end up taking the course eventually. I highly recommend it. And what's really amazing is that Jose wanted people to review it, because again, he did this in the 60s. Like, Helene met Jose months after she moved into the house she won. So she was already a pretty good manifester before she met Jose. But what was really fascinating is they teach you in the course a stop bleeding technique. She learned that from him in the fall, and that New Year's Eve they were in a car crash. There's a story in her book about that car crash, and actually the letter Paul Twitchell wrote her after the accident is on the website, so you can go read it. His handwriting is very difficult to read, so I also transcribed it. But it was right after the accident, because he was him and his wife were good friends with Helene and Pat, and they knew about the accident. And he was intuitive. He knew that she was going to have an accident before, but he said it was in process. So she had things to learn in her life too. And, but when she had the accident, she remembered his teachings and she just stopped the bleeding and it saved her. So our minds our subconscious is extremely powerful if you can command it, like allow it to come forward over the mind. So the mind, now it's really interesting is I'm listening to a lot of teachers and I'm starting to realize a lot of them are teaching like the next level or a different take on the Silva method. Yeah, Yvonne says mind over matter. Bashar, Daryl Anka channels Bashar, and Bashar says, circumstances don't matter, only state of being matters. But it's a real play on words because your state of being will manifest the matter. I had to sit with that one for a minute. I love it. And I do know this to be true because the day I manifested the most prizes I ever had, I was just happy. I was just happy. It was 2022. I hadn't been to the annual National Sweepstakes Convention in 7 years 7 years because things kept happening. Like 1 year I was moving, 1 year I was traveling and I couldn't go. Then there was the pandemic, and the borders were closed. I couldn't go. Like there was always something. So finally, I was able to go. And I was so excited. And one of my sweeping buddies in Ottawa, so I had never met her in person. We had just been, she used to come to our club meetings on Zoom and stuff. Anyway, she wanted to go and she lived on the way. So it worked out really well. So Wednesday night, I drove to her house, stayed there. Thursday morning, we drove to the convention, had the meet and greet. Friday morning, we were just having so much fun. I hadn't seen some of my sweeping friends in so long. There was a ton of hugging. We were winning prizes. The hotel was really nice. New Hampshire. I don't know if you've ever been to Manchester, New Hampshire. The convention moves around because this year it was in Las Vegas. Next year it's going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. But it was in Manchester. Beautiful there. And so I was just having a good time. I was just happy. And I was winning prizes. And so I won a prize in the morning session. And then we had leftover food from the night before. So we said, well, let's just go to our room and eat that instead of trying to rush and, go around. So we went out to the room. Now that day, one of the telephone cell providers in Canada went down, like the whole thing. Like there wasn't even 911, which was a big problem. And the Ministry of Telecommunications in Canada called the presidents, like the heads of all the telecommunication companies, and said, I don't care what happens, but 911 can never go down. If you go down, you pick it up. Doesn't matter. That can never go down. Anyway, it was, I said to her, oh my gosh, we're being silly. Half of Canada can't even enter giveaways. Let's see if we can win stuff. So I enter an instant giveaway. Boom, I win a $25 gift card. There was one running at the time. Boom, I won a pair of runners. I'm like, I'm on a roll. So I had a gift card from the morning. I won another gift card. I won a pair of runners. I checked my email. We won a trip. We had won a trip. I'm like, are you kidding me? I immediately run down to the business office on the lunch hour, print out all the forms, sign them, take pictures of them and email them back. Like, I can't believe this. And then we go back into the session and the owner of I Win Contests was joking, and he had won a trip at lunch. He was getting ready to go. He had to leave a day early on for the convention because he'd won a Disney trip on the Wish. And while he was at lunch, he got a call where he won another cruise on the Wish. He's up to 92. Tom Cavalli of I Win Contests is amazing. So he was joking. He goes, anybody else win a trip at lunch? And I go, me. He's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where? I go, music festival to Montreal. It was so fun. So we won that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then we went to the baseball game that night, and the New Hampshire, I think it's Wildcats. Please don't correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am. they're the farm team for the Toronto Blue Jays. So that, we had all our Canada, me and Susan had all our Canada gear on. And I was just in a good mood. And we had part of the outfield, and they had a buffet for us. Like, we bought, they have a lot of the conventions have excursions. You can buy extra tickets and go on these excursions. Anyway, the baseball's fun. And they had a whole buffet for us as part of the ticket that we bought. And then it was like jersey night or something. We got a jersey. They were kids' jerseys. I gave it to my nephew. So we were out there, and they're playing the game, and the outfielder, he misses the ball. It rolls into the corner. And I was just feeling so positive. I screamed over the balcony. I said, "That's okay. You'll catch the next one." Like, I was giving them positive, not like usually they yell at them. You're like, "You bum, what do you can't?" No, I was like, "You can do it," like the little train that could. Anyway, I guess he was so surprised that someone said something nice. He just smiled and threw me the ball. My whole section went crazy. I still have it in my office. It's on the other side of the desk. I can't reach it. But it was it just reminds me of to stay positive. And then we get back that night, and I said to Susan, "I wonder if I could win in something else." I won another pair of runners. So like, it's one per person. So I won one for me and one for George. So I won 5 prizes, including a trip that day, because I was just happy. I was just happy. And literally stuff is just coming. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was so much fun. And I keep thinking, how do I get back to that state? Because that was so good. And I've seen an interview with Jim Carrey, and he said he did that one day. He had this meditation, and he had like this enlightenment moment, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's it." Da, 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 and gone. It was as fleeting as it was brilliant. And I went, "Yep, that's it. We're messy humans." So even all the people that we think are so powerful and successful and doing that, no, we're all messy humans. We've all heard it before. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And yeah, sometimes, when I was going through it, in that reading, Robert said to me, "Yeah, sometimes, we're down here to experiment, and sometimes we blow up the laboratory. Sometimes we don't just make a mess, we just blow up the whole laboratory." And that's, how my life felt at one point. So it's okay to be doing this. So my challenge to myself, and I'm going to put the links to the ones that I mentioned today that I did not pre-post in the description. I will do it right after this. I challenge you to do this with me. I will be doing EFT every day. I have been doing, like I said, I've only missed 2 days. I've been doing my meditations every day. I've been exercising every day. And let's do that. Let's add in that EFT and do that together until next week. And then next week, we're going to do the next 2 pages. We're going to just keep doing 2 pages every week, because there's a lot to settle in on. Right? So let's see where this path takes me and what the business looks like. Because I had no idea that this was what it was going to look like when I started it decades ago. Like, when did I start? I had a business with my husband in 1996, and then we split 2009. 2009, we converted it. So then I took my half, he took his half. So I had Contest Queen. And then in 2014, I added Idea Majesty. And last year, I added Words for Winning. I had no idea this is what it was going to look like. I didn't know I was going to become a publisher. I remember taking English in college, and I got a C on a paper, and I thought, that's okay. It doesn't matter. I won't be a writer. 10 books later. 10 books later. Silly. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Okay. So I challenge you to work with me. We do it together. We're going to do the tapping every day, and maybe journal. And I'm doing silver meditations. It's called, the one that Ken has proposed is the long relax. I think I can find a link. I think he gives it away free if you sign for his newsletter. You can get his version of the long relax. Mind Valley calls it the centering exercise, but honestly, I really like Ken's voice. So I like his meditation. It's 35 minutes. So I'll see if I can get you that too. And that's what we're going to start with until next week. Now, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments or email questions@wordsforwinning. And make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button, because that way you always get notified of when I go live. Okay, until next week, we're going to do this. We're climbing up the mountain and we're climbing together. So let's go.